Hello everyone, welcome to Conversations 3X, an awakening space to inspire women to recognize their inner potential and walk in self-worth with confidence. Brought to you by IE Horizons, where awareness begins and consciousness expands. So today we are talking to Dr. Preeti Satyam. She is the Managing Director for Vyasa Canada National Institute of Health and Yoga Research Society, and she is a yoga therapist as well. Let's hear what's her story, what is her experience. Based on the Sanatan way of life, we learn what Sanatan is. Settling in Canada as a newcomer. Hello, Dr. Preeti ji. It's lovely to see you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Kamaljeet ji, for inviting me. It's an honor to be with you and to talk about, all the journey that you have already, shared with so many people. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I have shared a little bit about yourself, but could you please share a little bit about your journey? Because I know that what you're doing now is an intersection of soul and science. And for women who are settling in Canada, we have our own struggles, initial reservations, stepping stones, struggles. So how can they reconnect with their inner strength? So your journey will really inspire them. If you can share a little bit about that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kamalji, for, you know, helping us a little bit go back. I
Yeah.
know, you know, it definitely is a great, I would say, test of our strength when we migrate to a new country, and that too when I myself also migrated to Canada. Uh, it's like starting from the scratch, right? So all our education, despite very high education, a PhD, and all the work experience, international advocacy work that I was doing with the environmental studies and women, I I wanted to start it that way, but it doesn't happen like that. Right away your qualifications not necessarily, you know, as much as they are needed to immigrate here, like to get the PR points. But then here we have to really start from scratch. And so I was lucky, I would say. I did get through, some of the call centers that I started working with the banks, like CIBC, JP Morgan Chase. So initially, we are not in the forefront, like you're behind, on the phones, but then it did expose me to a lot of, work culture here in Canada, and I was able to learn. It's a great learning as journey as well, because it is a new country. It does have its own processes, and it's just everything changes, right? We have to work through our day-to-day lives, our from cleaning our home to your groceries to driving, everything we do yourself, unlike in India where I come from. So all of that, I was able to adjust and struggled with initially quite a bit, and then so that's how I started here until I became a citizen. When went through all the exams and tests, everything, and started working with the federal government here, which was also another big shift. And having to work with the government, is also uh, kind of has its own expectations. Again, as I would say, very much different from in India. And I would say in the long run, it's all positive, but initially just the work culture, everything was a great learning. So
Yeah, I would say that, many women, they face during their struggle. One is their struggle related to the culture and the trends in Canada, the workplace culture, and how the HR operates, and they want Canadian experience, and you got to start somewhere. But
correct.
there is also that has been, uh, many people have been upfront and outspoken about it. Some don't. Some keep it under the cover, like women who face subtle or overt discrimination in the workplace or during social interactions. And from your perspective, with your skills and knowledge and your experience in you can say the Sanatan culture. You can explain about the Sanatan culture as well. How does this awareness, self-awareness, help people and in particular women develop some kind of emotional resilience and reclaim their confidence during these moments of, it's very stressful to be undermined and then get demotivated seeing this kind of discrimination. It's just the right word because it covers so many areas within the communities, within the religions, within multicultural Canada. What are your thoughts and whatever that you can share to help?
Yes, for sure. It's ultimately who you are is very important, and our inner self. Because when these are the testing times, you're good at things. Like let's say technology or this all the culture that all the work. Let's say all the work load that we have, we can do it. But you can see that there is a very subtle. Discrimination that you talked about, you cannot even speak about it because it's like you'll undermine your own career that way. So it is there. And coming from, and then of course there are different people from other cultures too, and they will always have a little skepticism about how you talk, how you present yourself, how you dress up and all of that. So everything is supposed to be just their way. And so obviously we adjust to it because we we come from a culture that is very we have struggled our way all the way. If we have immigrated here, obviously means we have already gone through a lot of tests already, the point system and all of that. So eventually, let's say, as you mentioned, the Sanatan culture, when you find yourself being tested again and again and again, somewhere it hurts you. And as I said, like I've worked to several departments and all of that. So you can see it's very difficult to find your way up, basically. Because somewhere you will find like the government is also actually working like a private sector, honestly. So they just see, they get the work done out like that. So it's not necessarily very, actually, I would say very um, based on all your skills, all your experience anyway. But that apart, you know, I think, yes, my own spiritual strength to overcome all of that was definitely very helpful to me. Because what happens is when stress gets into your life, seeing all this happening, it affects your health. We all know about stress, and in the Western culture, even for that matter, anywhere in the world, at all ages. So basically, if that comes in, then your health, and then your personal life, all of that. And at that time, the 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 strength of Sanatan, or this, which is a very scientific way of living our life, of balancing our life. It's it came to my rescue as well, and I was able to meditate more, and in fact did more of and actively also participated in, because you see in our culture, whatever you learn you teach, and that's how you become, like the shishya guru parampara. So I was lucky to have met some very dynamic gurus like Dr. H.R. Nagendra Swami ji here in Swami Satya Prakash ji in Vancouver, and who showed me the path to a scientific way of leading our life, which is very practical, as well as it's very helpful. So it helped me, I would say. And then of course I not only practiced it myself, but I started teaching it as through the organizations that I support. And at the same time, I kept working as well to survive and to keep doing the worldly stuff as well as my spiritual stuff. So it's a balance.
So, in a nutshell, how would you explain what is Sanatan all about?
Sanatan is it's not just a philosophy or you know it is very scientific. It's a health science. It's based on more of environmental. We became more and more aware actually of our environment, and about our inner strength as well as how to bring it out. The art, the also the ethics part of it, which is so strong. And it's all the karma theory and all of that. As we grow, we read all of that. And these are such timeless principles, which are most of the time unrecognized in the West. So it's a very mad race for money and fame and everything else. But it's the this is how the modern Western life is. But the inner self, our consciousness, and how it impacts our day-to-day life and day-to-day living is very important. Sanatan, I would say, is it's a timeless knowledge system. The Vedas, the Upanishads, the all these ancient scriptures, they are very experiential. So it's based on our own personal experience. They're not dogmatic, and basically they are connected to our self, that our true righteous self, uh, balancing with nature and with society. So it's a very holistic science of living. And when we let's say, when as I mentioned, if you like our health, for instance. So the Ayurveda, it's a science of life, how we live our life. The dincharya, the ritu, based on our seasons and our the constitution of our body, the three doshas, what we call vata, pitta, kapha. Each one of us is basically unique, and we all have our own body uh, constitution. And once we know ourselves better, then we can lead a better life, a better living style. So all of this is very, I would say, very scientific, very important that we follow in our life. And also so much of contribution in Sanatan Dharma to our modern, which even our modern science is now recognizing. But it's very much rooted in our ancient culture as well as in our present times.
Yeah, I understand that Sanatan is definitely eternal. It's a way of life. It has certain principles to live your life with. And then the scriptures, ancient Vedas and Upanishads and Puranas have come into, they were being written and documented by sages and saints. So yeah, we will talk in detail a little bit more about, I have some questions about that also, because I know you are just the right person to explain all this. So, you worked in various federal departments, you said, in Canada. So,
Yes.
what were your key learnings about navigating the Canadian system while staying grounded in one's spiritual way of life or dharma as a woman of, a diverse heritage? It's very different. And looking at the current trends, global trends, communal trends in Canada too. How would you say that one can stay grounded with grounded in spirit and soul while navigating these systems? They are very, very challenging.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It is very challenging. At the same time, I would say, once we understand the system, once you are able to, let's say, meet all the qualifications and everything else, do the applications, do the interviews, do all the exams and everything, and you have your step on in the door. obviously it's all about of like any other place, a lot of competition, also a lot of people are applying, so there's always a big and then the government has its own sort of priorities, resources, and they just so they so we basically, I would say, have to be very alert and be very conscious of what's going on basically in those departments. And so we, if needed, upgrade ourselves in whatever more uh, expectations or let's say. But again, and even if there is, because they are very short-term contracts that they are doing mostly these days, it doesn't mean it's um, even if so as I was just mentioning to you that when there are changes in our contracts or reapplication and rehiring and all of that, that's just part of life. It's nothing to do with about, I would say, don't take it too personally. For instance, as you were mentioning about navigation, right? So yeah, just being focused. And also it's very, I would say, my own experience is like it's easier also to move to different departments. So you do not, with the mindset we come from in India, like if you're a teacher, then you're a teacher all your life. If you are whatever, right? And that's fine if that's what you want to do. But in this country, changing jobs is very normal. And then so you're changing federal departments. So just apply another place, another place. So I have don't take it too much personally that what I could have done or why I am not, let's say, becoming permanent, or it's not really to do with me, and it is to do with the way the things are with new immigrants, you can say, or with the way the funding for the government is. So you can easily switch to other departments and then keep working. So that's one of the things I personally learned. And other than that, and then being spiritual helped, because then let's say obviously you get used to a certain work culture or a certain workload, and it's a total different switch. Let's say for me, I worked with Service Canada, I worked with Statistics Canada, I worked with this public health department and Canada Revenue Agencies, all have a different focus and a different. And I would say my own strength of who I am and my education from my childhood till now, that we can be so, like receptive and change or work through different, systems. So that we all can do, and that's what helped me. And to go through all these different changes that keep happening, in our job front. But personal life, we have to keep going on. And that should not in fact, having a passion, something like what I was doing, like working with the volunteering with different organizations. I was in the board of, like, say, the temple, and then with the my gurus, Dr. H.R. Nagendra, the Vyasa Canada National Institute of Health and Yoga Research Society that we created and founded here in BC. And then, just carrying out different activities, getting the funding for them. So just keeping myself so, so busy, as well as, purposeful, that changes in the other front did not matter. In any case, they are not in our hands. Let's say the job, I'm seeing so many people struggling, and then they are into depression and anxiety because they are not able to survive, or let's say find the jobs or things that they would like to do or they're very skilled in. So how we can transfer our skills and work through different situations, and without basically getting sitting as if we are worthless. So basically, use your time for more constructive work, build better karma, better sort of life experiences, and that will help us, I think, go through these troubles much easily.
Yes, I totally agree with you, because I remember a long time back, I did a career program just for myself. And the instructor was very clear. She also said the same thing. Don't take things happening in the environment, with friends or colleagues or anywhere in any social circles personally. Don't attach yourself to whatever that's happening around, but improve yourself day by day and do your very best. See what changes are happening and what is required, and you need to stand up to it, prove yourself. And she said it's very common globally. She says not only in Canada, people change their careers and professions, 7 to 8 times in life.
That's
So it's, just moving to a new country will have its challenges. So not to take anything personally, but improve yourself day by day. So that's a very
I
beautiful
mean, we
message.
can't complain, or, we could want to become like, into that, category of protesters and, whatever else, which we could do. But there's so much to do in life. I mean, we can protest, we can show our, you know, what you think is really not right in our, positive way to help. Like, even say, let's the government also, we can always tell them, our supervisors, what you think should have happened or should happen. Which, but again, it's only as much. We cannot stop living our own life, which is so precious. Just one time we got our life, so it's. I would say my own focus has been, to improve myself spiritually, and as well as, just being out there helping and doing whatever we can. Just
Yeah,
it's not all about me basically. My job, my career, my food, my thing. I personally feel, yes, initially, first the struggle is there in Canada to be able to, like, have shelter, have food and things. Once we have the basics, we can have, the sky is the limit. We can be very rich, we can keep going on and on and on. But if there are struggles, God has given us enough. I mean, I feel like, sharing what we have, giving what we have, that is also very important. And just the material life, and just, all of that. We have at a time, even in India, a lot of focus on your career, your what is, you should be at the highest. At some point, there are those kind of expectations people or society will put on you. But I think ultimately it's about me and how I feel. And, so each life is different. We all have our own struggle, but we can come out of it in our own way, and our own strength can only bring us out or make us succeed. And the success also is also not what the world defines it as. So it's like, what is it that makes me happy? So, okay, I can work in the federal government and go higher and higher, but I feel like, working with the community is giving me more, more satisfaction, and and more purpose. So that could also change, as you mentioned, right? Change it, make that your career, make that your, your passion can become your career as well.
yeah, true, true. Yeah, there has to be a purpose, and the main purpose is that you are well cared for, and how can you help or be of service to humanity and everyone around you, that should walk alongside whatever you are doing. Should be a permanent. I would say that should be your anchor as well. And
Yes, that's right. Mhm.
yeah, and another thing, again, coming back to multiculturalism and diversity, like uh, people have their own complex stories and relationship with multiculturalism and diversity, and Canada has many programs. They support that diversity and inclusion. In fact, later on they also had diversity, equity, and inclusion. So how do you define inclusive empowerment, and how can women support each other, honoring their roots in such a society, which is also very competitive, and they need to improve themselves and yet have a sense of belonging to this new land.
Yeah. Well, I think it's again all about being able to think about others as well. So wherever we are, let's say if we are talking about the workspace or even in community space, we all interact with, and specifically with women, as you're mentioning. It's being able to listen to their struggles and support them in whatever way, help them. Honestly, for me, I have helped them, like, starting from just looking into their resumes, or just simply, informing them sometimes very simple things like how they can apply in different places, or, improve their skills in different ways. So whatever that we ourselves have done, if we can share. And so there are so many opportunities. Well, within the work culture, as you said, we get time in meetings and all of that. So just being more, I would say, sensitive towards each other is, and that's the first thing. And based on our own experiences and knowledge, if we can share, that can help others, is also, I think it's just, and then the same others do to you. So for me, I would say it's not like, it's all about me. Obviously, there have been people who have helped me in my life, and so basically it's a way to give back, right? So uh, just being thankful, being feeling the gratitude that we have what we have, and yet uh, you know just not being, just keeping it to myself. And I would say, for me, as I said, I mean, I have been very active in the community, so I meet so many people, and whether it's among seniors or in youth or in the working women that we meet, uh, we are always talking about how we can support. And I think just being there or listening to them and then advising, that has made a difference in their lives. I mean, they do come back to you, they do learn things from you, and that's, I think, what we can do.
Yeah, in my experience also, I believe, it was, I had to understand. I took up a program, on intercultural studies,
Hmm.
uh, only to understand what's going on, because things were very different, yet not so different, but in a subtle way, because there are so many different people coming from different places on the planet. They come together in Canada, they hold hands, they walk together, they work in same offices, and yet they are not able to accept their lives. They have a way of living, the others have different ways of living or communicating. So it was becoming a little bit challenging for me. So I took up that program. That program taught me one thing, that you accept, in a way, accept yourself. You need to accept others as well. And at the same time, what I have learned through my experiences, that one has to grow, continuously grow, not be stuck on your culture and not be stuck on a religion. I feel this is very, very important in today's world. If you are working, then you are working, then there is people are advancing with knowledge. So we need to be equipped with that kind of knowledge to do what is required to be done. So,
Personally, I feel, for me, like coming from a Sanatan culture, you mentioned, I think some of these things, actually for me, they came very naturally to me. I never, whenever I met people or I meet, I have never seen, it's basically, essentially, I don't know, maybe it's more with the influence of, my parents or, gurus in my life. Essentially, we see the spirit in people. So for me, I'm never looking at any person, whether it's, if it is a man or a woman or a old or a young or a black or a white. So that it's, we always see, that's a certain instinct or a, awareness that we are inbuilt with. So I personally, I feel like I did not struggle. Of course, I did see people struggling with it, or, but then that was never my focus. So what I saw in them was exactly what is it that, they are struggling with. So, and in that sense, I would say nothing else really mattered to me, at least. And yeah, we just see, so people, whether, coming from whatever background, I meet with them as if I'm meeting just myself. So basically, and seeing through their lives, like, well, let's say they have children, right? They have their culture, whatever their celebrations or struggles or job, it's just like me. So just seeing those, the similarities, and that's what actually drives me. And in when I meet with people, or if I and yeah, and I know there is so much of what do you say, difference that people want to assert. But then that's, their, I would say, their struggle, or their spiritual growth, or where they are in their life, in their, mental, physical, or whatever level. So that's fine, that's them. But for me, I feel like I'm really clear that, really, I mean, everybody out there is like our own family, like our own people. And that helps me basically. Even in our family, we have differences, we have struggles, so it's fine. I deal with it that way, and I never feel like it's something that, maybe it's something for my own growth. So I take it as, again, for my own, sort of next level of my own, spirituality. So yeah, that helps me, I would say, stay grounded and
Yes,
confident.
like the world is my family, right?
Yes, yeah. So we have to live it. So the
Vasudeva.
more we, Vasudev Kutumbakam. So if the more we live it, so my neighbor next door, whatever his or her lifestyle, but I would just always meet with them, and that has all helped me. Just being with people in a more, I would say, more harmonious way, and then people also, even if they come to you with a lot of whatever bias, they see that, forthcoming thing, like a instant connection we can make. It's how we also conduct ourselves also makes a lot of difference, I would say, in changing things.
Yeah, yeah, very nicely said. So, like we are talking about, we have entered into the, understanding the word Sanatan. So, Sanatan generally means what I understand as is means eternal. And it is also a way of life that was eternal and that was there, that was established as the primordial way of life, before anything was established. So, but can you explain how Sanatan Dharma is not a religion, but a cosmic way of life, and what and why that matters for the society in particular? Because women are creators as well. I talk about women because they are mothers, they are daughters, they are wives, and they are upcoming leaders in the world. So, especially those, who are seeking peace, balance, and belonging alongside, with this growing trend in the world. So, how would you explain Sanatan Dharma is not a religion and is
Yeah,
the way of life, is
yeah.
way
So
above it?
exactly as you just mentioned, so Sanatan is eternal. So, for instance, God was, God is, God will always be. So we are the ones who are not like, and when something within us is also eternal, this is what Sanatan says. And also dharma. So dharma, it's essentially is not religion. Dharma is duty, literally. So dharma. So there is a dharma of everyone, everything. So including, so in Sanatan, we all talk about, the Panchabhutas, the earth, the five elements we all are made of. So the fire, for instance, fire has a dharma, it has a duty, it's always going to be hot, it will always burn, right? It's water is cool. We know what the duty of or the dharma of water is, and we all are, and similarly air. So, and they never leave their dharma or their essential nature. Dharma basically is our true nature, and basically a human nature or a nature of a snake or a bird, whatever, that is their nature, and we all have that ingrained within us. And essentially in Sanatan is the our real nature is or the real me is our soul, right? Our atma, the consciousness. That's our real me. So things that are changing is not Sanatan. So our body is always changing. We don't see it, but from from birth till now, we have changed every day, every moment. So all that is changing, but something within us is not. And that is Sanatan. And also the same thing in the consciousness of the, so if there is an individual, our own personal consciousness or the conscience or the soul, similarly the universe. So the universal consciousness, or what you can say God, or the the universal force that there is eternal, which is actually moving this whole universe, and everything is basically following its dharma. Nothing is so the oceans are not running away from the earth, like, so basically oceans are where they are, sun is where it is, moon is where it is, so all the planets, the whole nature. So it's a very beautiful, Sanatan Dharma is talking about basically the nature, or and our the balance with both nature and the human, the personal, the the individual, and the community, all of this. So and and so it's not a religion because it's for everybody, it's universal, it's the principles are timeless, they are for the good of all. So when it talks about human or person, it's human as a whole, right? The humanity as a whole, not just some group of people. So all the kind of the way of life, the dharma or the duty that we have to follow, let's say as a mother, of as a brother, as a sister, as a is for everyone. So this is what dharma is for the Sanatan, or the what now people are calling them as Hindus, is basically uh, not just for people who are living in this side of Indus Valley, which they started calling them Hindus, a terminology that was coined much later. So Sanatan has been thousands and thousands of years old. There are a lot of historic proofs of their existence. The people or the descriptions of the life they led. Their temples and their the Ayurvedic principles, or generally the science and technology, the physics and all of that, the Vastu Shastra, all of that is all a proof of its existence for so long, and is still relevant till date.
Yeah, yeah. So, Vedas, Upanishads, and even later on Bhagavad Gita, they serve as, powerful tools. There's a lot of guidance given in them. So, do they help in liberation of women as well, or general humankind, human? Are they religious texts? Can they be considered as religious texts at any time? Or are they blueprints for navigating the challenges of modern or day-to-day life that was even at that time?
Uh, Definitely, they are for all humanity, including men and women. In fact, there is not much of a there's no discrimination. During, let's say, from the Vedic times, there have been Vedic, like women who were very much. All men and women were actually equal partners throughout. In fact, when you go really the in Sanatan principle, you really go beyond the body. So basically, essentially everybody, whether it's a child or old person or a man or a woman, and they are treated as a soul, as a as a, and our consciousness can grow in at whatever age, with whatever gender. So it has the principles that are outlined very clearly for everybody. And and women have always been very, as you said, like they are the most important part of this society, because they are the mothers, they are, caregivers. They are also in the modern world too, they are looking after even, the administration and everything else. So all principles are for everyone to follow, which they were doing. And basically, yeah. And so it has, um, you know obviously we all have different tendencies of what we want to do. So if there is a urge to learn, or the Vedas, or the scriptures, it's again your inner instinct. If you are instinctively more driven towards money, or be trying to earn, look after the the material well-being, then whoever is driven with those information, or the knowledge that is there for, they can learn it. It's available to everybody. So basically, or if you're just very seva oriented, just wanted to do things that you're told to do, like necessarily not too much into, let's say, learning. Or so we all have different, I would say, you know uh, what do you call, instinctively driven by, and then you can choose that form of lifestyle, or whether it's a life of seva, or a life of dharma, or like basically the spiritual teachings, or you know management, or basically into governance. So all of it, this is available, I would say, to everybody to learn and take lessons from. And that's what I feel like. I have never felt myself, being a woman, being not able to do anything that I wanted to do, being stopped by my, at least the dharma that we were following in our families, in our communities where I lived.
Yeah, that's very nicely explained. Thank you. So, like you also spoke about the Vedic times. What exactly are you referring to, the Vedic times? Would it be
Means,
the initial creation of the times, like we have those epochs of time, the Satya Yuga, and you know, is it the Vedic time? What is the Vedic time?
you know, I would say Vedic times are those times when, so much of the progress in terms of science and technology and all of that. So they're about like 5-10,000 years, or or years of uh, proofs of, let's say, knowledge and living of these people who were living at that time. So there is historical proof, lots of like the excavations, astrological, these archaeologically, and also the in libraries, in all of and of course these Vedic traditions have, the best part of it is, have moved from generations to generations to generations. So basically, I would say this is a time, not some, essentially, I'm not talking about just the creation of this universe, which also the Upanishads and Vedas talk about, the all the Indra and all the gods and whoever, like basically the creation of this world, but the actual human experiences. So for instance, like Sushruta Samhita, for instance, right? It's talks about the surgical text. It's about eye surgeries, all the plastic surgery, all these surgeries that we see happening till date. They're already mentioned in these texts, and they were already happening those times, right? And similarly, for instance, this Charak Samhita is there, for instance. The Panchakarma, we still follow it, right? The kind of the
So let
detoxification
me
herbs.
let me come to that because I think if you can give us a background for this, like the Vedic corpus is quite vast and ranging, beginning from this the four Vedas, what I just know as Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur, Atharva, and then there are other books.
Upanishads are the.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Upanishads are there. So later other Shastras and other things that you're talking about. Can you explain from that point of time that how can one begin to understand this, and where can one find this knowledge who's interested to weave all this learning and knowledge into their daily life?
Yeah, so again, they are available like in libraries, even online these days. You go to all this, and they have all been translated also in different, all hundreds of languages, including English. So these are all different texts or Vedic texts, we can say, and also in different institutions that are in the in India and worldwide that are they are being taught as courses and stuff. So that information is basically very institutionalized, very systematic, very scientific, and so these are all different, as you mentioned, like the the Upanishads or the Samhitas. They are also kind of more, and also their bhashya or their explanations by different gurus from time to time, like Shankaracharya ji and all of them, and then different other gurus like Vivekananda, and even modern times. They are always being
You
explained.
said a new word, samhitas. Like, can you explain the words? Like, many people may not be aware of it. Like, one is the Vedas. We have Vedas. You mentioned some. I only know about four Vedas, and then other Upanishads. And can you explain a little, give a little context for each one of these?
Yeah, basically, they are kind of, I would say, systematic way of putting the knowledge together. So Samhita is mainly like a union, right? It's basically the Vedas have so many literature, right? So many explanations as well, basically, right? So initially, Ved Vyas ji, he wrote them with, and there are, we can go more quite a bit into detail, but basically by their memory, by what so in meditation, deep meditation, whatever came to them is essentially to the gurus, to Vedas ji, is what is Vedas, right? And then eventually he started talking about them. Then they became our, from their memory, the smriti. So many smritis have been written. And then their explanations, they basically combine, and then are the Upanishads. So there are hundreds of Upanishads, and they are basically explained, including the Gita and the Mahabharat. They are all Upanishads. And similarly, Samhitas are also, for instance, for Shiv, there is a Puranas also. So they are basically describing the universal experiences in a more story format. So some are explanation, literal explanation, some are in the form of stories or poetry, like Gita is a song. So they are sung, but all it, and essentially the principles are all Vedic, or they are talking about the same in a more different way. For instance, Mahabharat is an Upanishad, and basically all these characters are like values, basically, like, let's say, all these gods and goddesses we see in our temples or we pray. So Ganesha essentially is a principle of you know uh, removing obstacles from our life. Anything new we start, we say Jai Shri, Shri Ganesha Nama. Similarly, Vishnu, and then all his Krishna and all, they were never like gods essentially. They are like values, they're like principles or the life that they followed. And they eventually, the other day,
Do
you
you
and
say
I were.
that they really existed or not? Because Mahabharat is more, has now, there is historical evidence
No, they
that,
are, they are definitely real stories, but eventually when they are written as, and
yeah.
when you want to understand them as, and so basically, essentially, it's not about only about just trying to pray, let's say Krishna. It's more about the life, learning from the life and the values that they stood for. Their whole purpose, the avatar was for that purpose, whether, for Ram. Yes, they lived their life, but essentially praying, because the whole purpose of human life, according to Sanatan Dharma, is our own, elevation, which we learn through different modes of language. Easier when we see it through lives of people like Ram, and like Krishna, and like even Jesus or Vaheguru, right? All of the gurus that lived their life. So essentially, right, they were, of course, people. They are very very inspiring, very towering people, the life they live, but they were very simple as well. And, they never said we are gods. They never, but they're uh, essentially, we also can live that life. We necessarily don't have to say we are God, but Sanatan is saying Aham Brahmasmi. We are the Brahman. We are the same. So in that sense, yes, we are the gods, living embodiments of divinity, as long as we can live that life, and that we forget. So yeah, so as you mentioned, so the Vedas and all have very extensively described that we all, it's like a moment of enlightenment. We can study a lot and study. Actually, even in our Vedas, they say at one point you have to give up everything, including the Vedas, including the God. Then only you'll realize your true self. So Vedas also reject Vedas too, eventually. But then you have to reach that. Yeah. So that is how high this is, because it's so much value to ourself, our soul, our consciousness. And that is why it's beyond boundaries of even if you like read how Shankaracharya ji has explained it. And Shivoham. If you read through that, it's the explanation of Vedas. So I am beyond the guru and the shishya. While we value the parampara of the guru, but the gurus, the teachers, we revere them as God. But you go beyond them too, and that's very much acceptable. And you can still be you, or like it's not like, okay, you don't believe in this, you are not, like, you are not a Hindu or not a Sanatani, something like that, because a Sanatani can go beyond all of that much of freedom we have. Because this is what moksha or freedom is. We cannot be bonded by any of this. So the universal principle is really universal to everything, everybody. And that's a realization. This realization can come to you in a moment, in a fraction of a second, and you will be able to see that in everything, everyone around you. Or it can take us ages and ages and explanations until you get it. So basically, we do have to go beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the intellect. So this universe, the God principle, is basically is that which is giving power to the intellect to think. So how can we think with intellect, intellectually, keep dissecting information, get all this and more and more and more, keep learning all this book, that book, and all of that. But essentially, if we really want to get that realization, it is that consciousness which can only make us realize it. So we cannot see that God, we cannot, you know, get it in books and all of that. It's very experiential in that sense.
Yeah. Again, you have so much of knowledge that one can keep going on. I will just I've taken so much of your time. I will just have two more questions. Uh, what we hear more today about the scientific relevance, of spiritual practices. Today, is there something that you want to explain more about it? Like, again, in context of Sanatan, the Sanatan way of life, how would you say explain the scientific relevance a little bit more, and also in particular, to work around trauma, anxiety, and whatever mental health issues one is facing, seeing that it's just growing beyond control.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you asked about, the scientific basis, let's say, of our Sanatan culture, and definitely the science of yoga and Ayurveda, the pranayama and all are very, very important and very, helpful in our stressful times to basically live a better life or healthy life. Even in the modern world, the holistic medicine that is now being more and more acceptable, the naturopathy, the science of naturopathy, nature healing, right? And you see, like, I was looking at some advertisement, like gold gold milk. So basically, it's turmeric, right? Ashwagandha, the detoxification people going for all these are all like Vedic, wellness model. In terms of science, if you see, like, for instance, Sanatan has great contribution, like zero, the concept of shun itself, which is so important. It's a value that was, which was put by Brahmagupta in the 17th century. Similarly, Aryabhatta had already explained the Earth's rotation in its axis, the planets are revolving, and the concept of pi were already discussed by Aryabhatta. In Jyotish, the science of astronomy, it was very advanced. The accurate distance of all the planets and all, the eclipses, solstices, and all measurements were very accurate. Again, there are thousands of years of literature that is available on Jyotish. Similarly, Vedic astrology was used a lot, not only like for prediction, in life, but for even agricultural purpose, like where and what to grow and stuff like that. Also, even before, the Indian astronomers were way advanced, even before Copernicus and Galileo, they were taught, they had already mentioned that, the sun is sort of the center, and then the planets revolve around it and all of that. Sankhya philosophy is now, the quantum physics is very much drawing a lot from what is called, like, which was very popular. Sankhya is basically the concept of Purush and Prakriti, the elements we are made of, and the supreme consciousness, the Purush. So basically, and the concepts of spanda, or the vibrations, how everything is in vibration, all of that. Spanda was already discussed a lot. Nada, or the sound energy, the sound of Om, for instance. Even NASA is coming up that this is the sound they hear, in space or underwater. So basically, the sound energy, even for healing in our current times too, we use it, and sound therapy, right? So how it helps in meditation. It's all being repopularized as well. They're very ancient. And as I mentioned, quantum physics is big time, right? Everything, how is the basis of basically the Upanishad cosmology, right? The what Upanishads talk about, the consciousness as the main, driving, like how in basic, like how scientifically, so many things you cannot always explain. How a mother and a child can talk in distance, right? And so basically beyond sound, how we can go, the principle of consciousness, basically, which is what how quantum physics is talking about, is a jump of energy, being able to see beyond what we can see, right? So very important, and now it's being accepted in, in science as well, in physics. Now, very important, you and I, we were discussing in terms of architectural and engineering, the
Yeah,
Vastu. Yeah. So
amazing.
Vastu is being coming up a lot. But if you look at the ancient temple designs, right? So they are so much, it's a whole science of space and structure, of, the geometry and the magnetic field, the energy field, directions, how things have to be built, where the energy will be maximum. They were like in the form of mandals. They are designed. So basically, essentially, mandal can be like a geometrical design, you can say. Basically, now feng shui is talking about it. It's but this our this mandals and our way, in temples like Angkor Wat, which is in Indonesia, or in Jaipur, wherever we go, South India, beautiful temples, very elaborate. You'll be amazed. Unless they had the knowledge of science and the technology, it's really hard. Temples like built from the the mountain up down. So basically, they would have started building it, and now you have to go down, all the way. So it's just marvelous, technology. So basically, they were not, these temples were not just places of worship. They were like energy centers. They were constructed with a very mathematical precision, right? And so, for instance, if you see the Konark temple, the Sun temple, and they and all these different temples, exactly the sun rays will fall on that, or how things basically, how the sun would, revolve. You can see the light in different, parts of the temple, things like that. So basically, uh, constructing it, keeping the movement of the sun or the day and the night, all of that. Um, so the technology was very, very advanced, and like interlocking of stones you will see in so many temples, and there are so many eco-free chambers. They are like, marvels of civil engineering. And you mentioned again about, the science of the mind control, the consciousness. Patanjali, in his Yoga Sutras, he has given a beautiful, full description of our psycho and spiritual science of our body, of our breath, and the mind control. He's one of the best, I would say, when, in trying to really master the science of yoga. And so basically, the knowledge of subtle energy, the energy channels, the chakras, this is all now influencing even our modern psychology, the neuroscience. They know that there are energy centers impacting different parts of our, organs of our body. So basically, the concept of sanskar, we always say, right, that instill the sanskar, whatever, we are all born with certain sanskaras of the past, and then we take birth and continue to keep taking birth. These are like our mental impressions, like our, based on our karmas. And all of this basically impacts our, behavior. So our, why people behave the way they do, like you'll feel like, I've been so nice to this person, that person's always been, negative towards me. So the more you know about the karma principle, right, you may have heard that person some life, sometime. So, and so these are all like, like cognitive models for our mind to understand and, move through life, in a more like holistic way, more mindful, more in a more meditative, I would say, way. And then, as you were talking again, I would come back to the stress, factor, the breath work, right? Being more conscious of our breath, definitely, because once we are all stressed out and so confused with everything around us, we just lose control of our own self, our own breath in the first place. So just being so grounded to our existence, right, is so important. And so this is now being acceptable, is more accepted globally. And so the principle of dhyana, the pratyahara, withdrawing our senses from all the worldly objects. So eyes always want to see, watch TV, everything. So eyes is a sense organ, right? You withdraw your eyes from all the time. Look, you close your eyes all the time. We close the eyes. So we do different brahmari and all, trying to basically go more and more within. So all of that is, helps in dharana. And then, of course, this deeper state of meditation, which is samadhi. It's a state of complete awareness, the samadhi, not something to be achieved after death or something like that. So basically, all this is also there in our Yoga Sutras. So similarly, in the field of environment, Sanatan is so very sensitive about the rivers, the trees, the animals. We almost worship them, not, in the sense of, just for the sake of doing some, rituals, but basically revering them as our mother, as our, like Ganga is our mother, like that, right? And so basically, they are all seen as very sacred. And all the elements as well, like the earth, water, fire, like Om Deo Shanti, Antarikshagum Shanti, all these mantras, we all the time giving reverence to the, the elements, basically the what we are all created with. And, they're all uh, being aware of this, being conscious will obviously is good for our health, for human health as a whole, and for humanity. So, like principles of ahimsa, non-consumer, satya, ahimsa, asteya. So basically, non-consumerism, just not being too much of vasana, or, just balancing our life with, with sharing and caring, being more conscious of the ecology is very, very important. I would say still it's ancient as well as modern, right? We still need to do that. So I would say, Sanatan is always relevant. It was, it is, it always will be, because it's talking about global wellness. the movement, the yoga movement that we see today, everybody around the world following it, is very important for our mind, for our health, and being more and more climate conscious, being the medicine, the herbs, the medicines that we talk about in Ayurveda, so important, with no side effects. The kind of side effects we are seeing in modern medicine now. We are accepting the natural healing more and more, and like all these apps you see, like even how they are being with modernism, like all these meditation apps and all of this for mental health, still helpful, right? So we can use technology as well, for our health, for our well-being. And more and more designs are more vastu based life now. The buildings and homes, people are trying to get maximize their home energy, their life energy, through the science of vastu shastra. I see here Swamiji and all, whenever there so many people inviting them to do that vastu puja, for instance, just invoking that sort of energy, which is all you know there in vastu science. So, as you just said, science, Sanatan is not just a religion in that conventional sense. It is a science of existence. It's like a framework. It's a timeless river of wisdom. It's been there for so long. I mean, now in the current time, people are calling it new age, like they call it, as I just mentioned, like the milk is called gold or whatever milk, but basically they are giving it alternative names, but they are basically, so sometimes the Sanatan principles are acknowledged, sometimes they are not, but they all have roots there. All the even the modern, the new age, or way marketing that is happening now, with they're saying, oh, ancient secret. So they will just say the ancient secret, not necessarily calling it Vedic or Sanatan. So that's fine. That's the way it is. But I think now it's time that, India or the world should recognize that Sanatan Dharma is a treasure house of knowledge, and it was never lost. It was always there. And it's just waiting to be rediscovered, with more and more reverence, more of study and its application.
Yeah, thank you so much. It has been very enlightening talking to you. And I totally agree with you, that Sanatan has always existed. It is a kind of something that is woven into life.
Yeah.
And whether it is being recognized by people or it is not, but it has been there. It has been the foundation, and things couldn't have moved without it, because that was what it was. Like everything has grown from or stemmed from there. So it is definitely eternal, and people should look into it and see how to gain more from it by, indulging in various, relevant books and scriptures. Like you said, they are available.
Yeah. Like in,
And
in medicine or science, technology, architecture. Yeah, there's basically lots to
yeah,
learn from.
I know lots of people are doing research also. They are doing some
Mm.
thesis work and all on this work. So, concluding, like what are there some affirmations, or you would share with people or women in particular, if they find themselves at a crossroad, and like what to do now? I have nowhere to go. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. So what would you say to such a person or a woman, especially because I talk about women because they are affected by so many things, with their responsibilities and their role in life. Like I said, as a mother, creator, daughter, she'll be working. She could be a leader.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think for people like us, or people who we meet and are struggling in this Western world, so we do need to sort of blend our life together with the East and the West. There's no choice. because the culture that we are coming from is also it's very grounded, very rooted, very rich. And the more we can, I would say, sort of try to blend this modern, the world, the scientific world, the fast-paced world we are living in, with our ancient, with our soul, with our tradition, that can help bring a transformation in our life. And there are so many good, I would say, when it's a really difficult time, you know, taking recourse to this knowledge and these teachings. There are so many good retreats I myself had gone through, like through Vyasa, it's a yoga university, which is basically talking of it's called yoga, but basically it has naturopathy, Ayurveda, all of that combined as a lifestyle. A couple of months I stayed and just completely transformed. So if people can do that still, that knowledge, just we still do need to at least learn by living that. So having immersing ourselves to that life and then see what you can actually follow with, with the life that you have currently in Canada, like, or anywhere wherever you are. So I would say it's really important that we value these, the service we do, the humanitarian service, the spiritual mentorship we can get from so many, enlightened people, which can inspire in us, the strength, the clarity, the confidence, right? That each soul is meant for. Each of us have, a path, a sacred path that we have to follow, that and with courage, with compassion and with purpose. Once we are able to do that, I'm sure, we can be better selves. And really, I mean, again, as I mentioned in the beginning, we just have one life. There are solutions to all these problems. We don't not be stuck forever. We have to find a way out. In fact, I feel like when the problems come, they are one of the best times of our lives because they teach us a lot. They make us, get that knowledge and experience, which will take us higher. So there is nothing to, I would say, worry so much about. Just keep working towards what is, the real purpose of our existence on this earth, and we will feel more free and confident and happy.
Yeah, lovely talking to you, Dr. Preeti. We'll talk again, touch base again, and learn more about the scriptures from you and Vishwa and Vyasa too. Vyasa is the Vyasa Institute in Canada.
Yes. So Vyasa Canada National Institute of Health and Yoga Research was founded by Dr. H.R. Nagendra, it's inspired by Vyasa Vivekananda Yoga Research University. And it was founded in 2019. And then also the Varad Ashram, the Vishwa that you're seeing here is also which is founded by us. So 2019 we founded Vyasa. Even before that, we were doing all these retreats, yoga, music, meditation. These are all, and I didn't talk much about music, but music is also such a great science of healing. So basically, we have been doing this to Vishwa. It's called Varadashram. It's a short form of Varadashram Intercultural Service Humanitarian World Association. This was inspired by Swami Satya Prakash. So basically, we do a lot of food programs, and as I mentioned, all of the retreats that we do for, teaching all these spiritual, like methods, like even Vedas, Upanishads, and like pujas and all. People like Vastu, Shastra, and also people have been asking to learn about it. So, this is one thing, you do the puja one day, like once in your life, but is another to understand the basis of it, and basically having those sort of courses to teach. We are doing that. So both of these organizations, they are based in Canada since 2012 Vishwa, and then 2019 Vyasa. And Hindu Temple Burnaby is also there for a very, very long time. We are there most of the time as well, like on Sundays and Tuesdays. And whatever we can do to help and guide people, we do that.
They need to contact the Hindu temple in Burnaby to connect, to reach out to Vyasa and Vishwa. if people are
Yeah,
interested to learn more
that
about
can
it.
be through me or Swamiji.
Okay.
They do have their websites too. So basically, temple, because that's actually, no, it's separate in the sense like, I mean, we are the same people, but then we do it in, because each of them have a different focus, so to say, right? So temple is usually, we do yoga, we offer free yoga there. So on Sundays and Tuesdays, where we do a lot of meditation, the whole Vedic yoga that people follow, and it's the, the karma yoga, bhakti yoga, gyan yoga, and all the the yoga sutras that all we follow or teach, or bring it into practice. That's we do in practical, because it's the same people. It's Swamiji, myself, and other than all the other board people. But Vyasa work is done separately. We have an ashram. It's in actually close to Hope City. So that's where we do, or online as well. But where we have to do practical stuff, we go and do it there. So it will be like directly calling or speaking to Swamiji or myself, or any other board member. But Hindu temple is more to do with all the religious stuff that we do, like our festivals and but we do have yoga there. So.
Yeah. So share your information with me and I'll put it in the description box below the video so that if anybody wants to reach out to you, then they can connect with you directly.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Preeti, and we'll talk again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Thank you so
right.
much. Thank you
Thank
for all your time, and for making this available to the community at large for women. And I'm really happy and inspired by your work when I saw your previous videos. And so thank you so much. Thank you for your
Thank you for that.